Here we are in 2025, a pivotal year, a life-changing, life-altering year that will go down in the history books as the year that changed everything. And so, yeah, you really want to listen to this video because I'm going to give you some dates. I'm going to give you all the important insights into when these changes are occurring. And we have so many changes. This is life altering. This is life changing energies. Never before in the history, and perhaps never before in the history of astrology, has ever been so many energetic changes in so little time. We have all the three outer planets changing signs, which is very rare because they all have long orbits. So they tend to stay in a sign for a very long time. Both three outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto changed signs November 19th, but I definitely take it into this energy because this is pivotal. 2025 is a year to look out for, is a year to remember, is a year to track. So I'm going to give you all the dates of when these things are going to happen. First of all, I always look at the numerological value of a year. 2025, when you add 2 to 5, it's a 9. So 2025 is a 9-year, which is a master number. 9 is very significant. Most equations with 9 come back to 9, or I think all equations with 9 come back to 9. So like 9 plus 9 is 18. And if you add 1 and 8, it's 9 again. So like that, okay? 9 is a master number. So it's also about completions. 9 is the last number in numerological sense. So we're also completing something big this year. We're mastering something big this year. 9 is also ruled by Mars, it says, so it should be a very active year, very goal-oriented, very, active changes, as the astrology also tells us. It's also related to the Hermit card in tarot, so that means kind of Virgo vibes, which is health and service and work and stuff like that. Interestingly, the South Node will be in Virgo very soon, so that's apparently something we're strongly working with, says the 9-year. So yeah, what are you here to master? What are you here for recognition wise? And to think about your satisfaction in life as well. So it should be a year where you're coming into your power and spiritual awakening. So I think that is tied very strongly into the first major change of 2025, and that will be the nodal change. So the North Node will move into Pisces, the South Node will move into Virgo, like I said, and this will happen January. The slight complication with the nodes is that you have a true node, so that takes into account the retrogrades and all that, and all the mathematical changes. So some people follow the true node because to them it's more true. I follow the mean node generally because I don't know, I feel comfortable with that. And so the true node moves into Pisces January 12th, okay? And the nodes move backwards due to the wobble of the Earth. So the orbit of Earth is not perfectly round, which is why, oddly, the nodes move backwards. And that has to do with why the nodes are the nodes, because the nodes are calculated. It's a calculated point between the orbit of the moon around Earth and the orbit of the Earth around Sun. And so when these two orbits intersect, there's a ascending line which goes up, and that's the North Node, and there's a descending line in the conjunction of the two orbits, and that will be the descending line. That is the South Node. Okay, so January 12th, we have the first changes of the true node moving into Pisces at 29 degrees and 59 minutes because it goes backwards, okay? So it moves from Aries into Pisces. And then we have the mean node January 30th moving into Pisces. So it's just a matter of like, do you follow the true node or the mean node? It's really up to you. As I said, I do the mean node. So we should feel a change between January 12th and January 30th, because, you know, the North Node was in Aries, and so we had an 18-month storyline of coming into our leadership, into our power, figuring out who we are, and really stepping into that power, embracing who you are, and really prioritizing yourself, prioritizing your leadership, your drive, your passion, and your self-esteem, right? Because of that. So it's been very much about you and the empowerment of yourself, your character, of who you are, and kind of being very fierce about it, fearless about it. So really stepping into the courage and bravery of who you are. That's been the last 18 months. And if you're a sensitive empath, you have felt this stronger than most others. But now we're moving into the North Node in Pisces, which is again an 18-month storyline. So 1.5 years, we're going to have a Piscean energy over us. And what is that? Well, very different from Aries, because we've moved from the first sign of the zodiac, which is all about beginning and wanting to start and like birthing fresh, new, or at least that was very much on our mind. Now we're in the 12th sign, so it's very much about completion and ending, just like the master number of a 9-year, right? And just like spiritual awakening and recognition is a 9-year topic, Piscean topics are similar too. It's very much about the spiritual. It's very much about having a spiritual life, a spiritual routine, spiritual habits, tapping into not just who you are as a character, but also who you are as a soul. So now it's really leveling up and being able to say, well, this is who I am in my more entirety. This is who I am in my connection to source, to God, to, you know, whatever you feel comfortable to say. So your relationship to a spiritual life, religion perhaps, and really building stronger intuitional powers. So the all-knowing kind of information, to be in touch with your feelings and being very sensitive with the Pisces energy. It's going through a lot of emotions and a lot of healing, ultimate healing potential, and also very big topics of, you know, huge energetic topics of forgiveness, of unconditional love, of trust and surrender and belief. And Pisces is also the ultimate creative sign. So, you know, this is where we're about the arts, self-expression in a divinely guided way. This is where you can get in touch with your spirit guides, your angels, you know, your ancestors on the other side. This is where, I suppose, in a way, collectively, the veil is thin between what we see and what we don't see. So the Pisces governs the unseen realm of all that we are not aware of yet, that we don't know about, perhaps life after death, and what does it even mean? And definitely a stronger connection with yourself on a soul level. And so you need intuitional powers for that. Pisces governs, you know, isolation, being on your own, in the sense that you have to be quiet and still to tap into the soul information, to tap into your intuitional voice, and to feel interconnected with all there is, and to really we're all feeling more interconnected. We're all feeling each other's grief and each other's hardship more, because the truth is that we are all interconnected, and that if somebody's going through a rough time, and that affects us, okay, that's the reality of energy. So I think the North Node is a path of what we need to learn, what we need to master, what we need to grow into. It's the ultimate goal and life purpose, the North Node. This is also in your own birth chart. You always look at the North Node as your ultimate soul mission on Earth. And so now our collective mission is to implement these Piscean, ethereal, out of this world, unseen realm of spirituality, of emotions, of energy, of love, of these really big concepts that we're now invited to integrate and bring down on Earth and into our lives. If the South Node moves into Virgo, then, you know, that's kind of what we need to move away from. And Virgo is very about efficiency and control and details and organization. And so it's, you know, doing a lot of work, taking it under control. But I guess the North Node in Pisces is saying, let go of the control, surrender and trust in the flow, and trust the divine that will guide you and help you to your fullest potential and the highest road for yourself and the collective. So it's a time of letting go and really surrendering to the waves of what is, and not trying to force it in a certain way. So we have to be really careful about the South Node Virgo tendencies. It does mean that there will be a lot of healing topics. So, you know, we're also moving through getting rid of a lot of physical ailments, healing work that we will go through. You know, it's also about helping others, those who are left behind, who stand at the sideways of society. Pisces can govern homeless people, you know, institutions like hospitals, and so the sick, and, you know, the disenfranchised, or like just the left behind, the forgotten, the unseen, like Pisces, you know. And we have to really be very compassionate these coming 18 months. So it's a challenge to still stay compassionate and kind to yourself and to everyone around you. And when we're going through such upheaval like 2025, that can be really not easy, but it's the higher road. It's literally the higher road, and it will be the road that will be celebrated, will be valued, and will be gifted. Because remember that these are the topics that the eclipses will be working with for the coming 18 months as well. And it also means the mystical, magical side of life. We have to step into our mediumship powers. We have to trust our feelings, trust our gut instinct. We have to trust that there is more, and that we want to discover that, and that there's so much that you can do, and that there's another force, and the divine force is the one you can really lean on to, especially when so many things are changing and you don't know where this ship is going and what you can and cannot do. It's time to trust, and you know, it's an excellent time for meditation, for prayer, and compassion, kindness, okay, and creativity in your own way. This is excellent for like singing, poetry, any form of arts. Yeah, so that's a great way to release perhaps a lot of emotions and sensitivity that will also be high the coming 18 months. So that's first in January. And then, you know, the end of March, we have another big outer planet change, and that is Neptune moving into Aries. That occurs March 30th, at 0 degrees. You know, in astrology, actually, we are not in the new year yet. You know, astrology and most ancient cultures regard the beginning of spring as the new year. So when astrologically we are at the point of 0 degrees of Aries, we are in the new year. And coincidentally, that's approximately March 21st. And then March 30th, which is around the new year, astrologically, we also have Neptune moving into Aries. Well, this is interesting. We've had Neptune in Pisces since 2011, so approximately, you know, 16 years. And Pisces was where Neptune was at home, so the problem with Pisces and Neptune is that it can also be about confusion, delusion, lies, deceit, fantasy, and just confusion, not knowing where you are, what's going on, and I think if you've been very aware, because the outer planets are actually about awareness, is about consciousness, higher consciousness. So awareness means seeing, accepting, seeing what really is going on, not what you want it to be, but what it is. So reality, kind of. And I think part of the Pisces Neptune journey, if you've really paid attention and if you've increased in consciousness and awareness, it has actually been about bursting a lot of bubbles, you know, pushing through the illusions and seeing that we've been lied to on so many levels. And so when Neptune moves into 0 degrees of Aries, and you know, it's going to go back a little bit, this is going to take a while, it's not going to stay in Aries for a very long time, but still it's a pivotal point. And so actually this change that I said about 2025, it's 2025, 26, 27, that, you know, all these planets are going to establish these new signs. So the real changes are going to continue for 2 years, but 2025 is that massive, you know, doorway that is going to propel us into major changes and frequency upgrades. We're really going to feel different. We're going to experience different. And so 0 degrees of Aries, well, it's the birth, it's the starting point of the zodiac. So it's a whole new journey. And, you know, I have this opinion, and Saturn is going to move into 0 degrees of Aries May 25th. So approximately, you know, a short 2 months later. And these two, Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries, I feel is going to change the game, and literally going to change the game, because I feel that that is a new soul contract. So everything you've been through until spring of 2025, it's all done. All the contracts you had with former people, it's over. Okay, if you've had difficulties with your sister, your whoever, you've had lousy relationships, so there was karma, there were stuff you needed to work through as a soul, you needed to learn. And I think this is a theory, this is hypothetical, it might not go like this, but in my theory, the cards are going to be dealt out again, completely new. This is a clean slate for most of us, for all of us who will go on this new journey, this new timeline, really, where the karma is being reset. Okay, and so previous karma is done, completed, gone. You will not live your life the way you did. And so on a soul level, you must have agreed to new contracts. So other people, other kind of issues are going to come into your life, not the ones you were used to. And this is really a huge potential, a huge possibility, when Neptune and Saturn move into Aries, you know, at the end of March and the end of May, this is where you can start fresh, you can start new. And so the question really is, well, what do you want? What new life, what clean slate do you desire? What passion would you like to move into? What kind of people do you want to be surrounded by? Aries is the complete new, the beginning, the clean slate, changing of karma, you know, tabula rasa, white clean slate where you can write your new journey on. And also, interestingly, Aries is not just beginnings and action and passion and courage and just going after what feels good. It's also the eyes, and I feel awareness wise, we're also going to see and understand just a whole new level. And this, of course, you know, astrology is not, you can't just look at one planet and one sign. It's a connection of everything together, right? That's why I always emphasize geometric patterns and the relationship, you know, that planets make to each other. So it's not just this, it's just that, you know, when Uranus, for instance, moves into Gemini, which occurs July 7th, which is, you know, more than a month later after Saturn moves into Aries. Now these are going to now sextile together, and also the 0 degrees Aries is also going to sextile Pluto, who just entered into Aquarius November 19th. Again, the Pluto into Aquarius is definitely an energy we're working with 2025 strongly. So and then Uranus is going to trine Pluto in Aquarius. So all these changes are having a huge harmonious relationship together as well. And that makes the biggest difference, I would say. It's not just changing of signs, it's also the harmonics between them, and the positive relationship that they are going to make, which is quite extraordinary if you ask me, which is why I say it's a clean slate, it's new karma, it's new timelines, higher timelines, because Pluto is bringing in the higher vibrations. Saturn and Neptune are bringing the new, higher new vibrations, new timelines, new possibilities, new opportunities. So what are you going to do with it? It's really a time very strongly until I'd say the springtime, that it's key that you let go of all that needs to go. No more holding on, not to things, not to people, not to places. Be flexible and surrender to the changes you need to make and undergo, because the North Node is a mutable sign. So we're in for a lot of changes. We're in for flexibility to adapt to these different outcomes. And this is why you have to trust very highly of whatever is going on, of all the endings and completions that we might encounter until the springtime of 2025. And then when Neptune and Saturn moves into Aries, I think we're going to feel in the springtime that massive acceleration energy, very heightened, of like, oh my God, okay, this is go time. This is now doing and action and really changing your ways, really changing what you want and how you're going to go after it. I think all of us could also be very surprised of these new changes, okay? But we will be also very excited, again, because of the sextile, so the positive relationship between all these changes. And it's really when Uranus moves into Gemini July 7th, when all of this is going to be extra, you know, oomphed, and we're going to like catapult into what we've already felt by then, but we'll really be like, okay, this is perfect, this is correct, this is what I want, I am sure. Yeah, it's so many massive energies. I just hope everybody's ready to move through this comfortably, And so that's the only way is to let go. Is to let go of your expectations, no expectations, no holding on to outcomes, no holding on to even your desires, okay? Just let go of all of it and see where this new beginning takes you. And then I think by March and May, you'll really feel the drive for action, and it will be divinely led. You will feel it in every bone, in your blood. It will be boiling. Also, you know, Saturn is about karma. So moving into Aries with Neptune, new karma. And also new material life. It's a whole new opportunity. If you've had money issues, this is now where you can completely change your game, change your rules, change what you dealt with on a karmic level. You know, so this is where really you can thrust forward like massively, unexpectedly, and that will be the best way. So it's really about, you know, taking away your claws of holding on to things and expectations and people, and just allow the changes to occur. Allow the waves and the flow to take you to the best outcome that is, you know, that is waiting for you, is waiting for these changes to go in the right direction. So it's really when you control and try to control, and we are living under free will, you can, but you will drop into the south node of Virgo, and it will be very challenging. If you're like, well, I'm not letting go, I want to be in control, and I want to decide, and I want to be on top of it, then, you know, God may tell you, all right, that's all right, but then I want you to do everything. I want you to show me then that you can do it all, because that's what you want. But if you trust, you surrender, and you believe and have faith, then you will be divinely protected and guided. So it's really the ultimate winning energy is that you just flow. You just trust the process. And it's a lot to work with, all these changes, right? Also, June 9th, Jupiter is going to change signs as well. It's going to move into the crab. So that's very positive for all our crabs. If you have crab energy in your chart, you're going to get an impulse, a blessing, protection, and, you know, the possibility for growth, expansion, and prosperity by Jupiter's kiss to you. And if you have anything in Aries, of course, at the beginning, you're going to really feel the springtime boiling into your favor. It's a time to really have faith and believe in your intuition and your instinct. You will be guided into the right places and experiences. You have to really trust. And I think also, since 9 is about spiritual awakening, since Aries is about seeing, right, about the head, I think we're really, with Neptune moving over there after 16 years of, you know, working with delusions and fantasies, I think we're beginning to see what really is going on, and that might be a rude awakening, okay? So if you suddenly start to see the things for what they are, it can be disappointing if it's negative, but it can also be quite surprising that you're like, oh, is this reality? Like, I hope, and I think this is quite a possibility with all these, you know, sextiles and trines to the biggest outer planet changes, that we're actually going to see the unseen. We're going to see the interconnectedness. You know how people who use ayahuasca and DMT and LSD always talk about how they see, you know, trees being interconnected. Scientists tell us this as well, how trees are interconnected, how, you know, they are communicating, plants are communicating with each other. And now we're going to see, we're going to hear, we're going to understand, we're going to see the unseen. And it might also be psychically that, you know, we are beginning to see more. So maybe we're going to see the deceased, or we're going to see, you know, major other energies that we were working with. Maybe we're going to see that this is not an empty space, but that there are things going on. We might be able to see the quantum. We might be able to see the cosmos more, or at least understand much more than ever before. So it's a huge upgrade in awareness. Okay, things are becoming more clear. So what you need to do is physically, mentally, soulfully be ready to digest and like take in all of this new information, the new things you're seeing, the new things you're understanding. It can be overwhelming if you're not ready, if you're not open, and if you're not, you know, willing to process these things. Other than that, you know, we are starting the year with a Mars retrograde. So it's a very slow entrance into 2025. But that's, like I said, because it's not an astrological new year. It's not really a new year in any kind of form, really. It's a constructed calendar made in 1750s, you know, the Gregorian calendar. It's really, it's very off because just, you know, if you follow the Latin, you know, September is 7, Octo is 8, October, November is 9, December is 10, and astrology is the same, follows that continuum. So right now we're actually in the 10th, 11th month. We're not at the beginning of the year, okay? So Mars being retrograde right now is kind of perfect because it's actually the end of the astrological year, right? So this is why you may feel very fatigued, very tired, very, you know, lethargic. You might want to sleep a lot. You might want to retreat a lot. You might really feel the winter blues more than ever because that's the Mars retrograde, okay? Mars governs our activities, our drive, our passion, our libido, and everything is just slowed down. It's really like hibernating and kind of surviving this low energy and this darkness that we're all moving through because we're really in between times, right? And like I said, 2025 astrologically, which starts in the spring, is going to have so many changes that physically, which is also Mars, vitality, which is also Mars, you have to be able to process it. You have to feel it. You have to be physically ready for these changes. And that's part of this Mars retrograde. So if you feel tired, if you want to sleep more than usual, it's perfect. You're right on time. There's nothing wrong with you. Mars retrograde kind of dictates this. And also it's about looking back and like, how have you done things? Have your goals changed? How is your approach going to be? Like I said, are you going to, you know, choose the North Node path of surrender, faith, and spiritual activity? Or are you going to use the South Node, Virgo, which is controlling and like, you know, wanting to have it your way, kind of, you know, looking into the details and focusing too much on what you want, how you want it, or are you going to let go and really surrender? So that's kind of Mars, because what's your approach of going about things? How are you going to go after your goals? Which route, which way of doing are you going to choose? So January 6th of 2025, Mars is going to ingress, as they say. So go back into, because it's in the Mars retrograde, go back a sign. And so we had Mars in Leo. Now it's going to go retrograde in the Crab. So the whole energetic signature of Mars is changing. And this might make you feel even more tired, wanting to stay more at home, cozy up, you know, wanting the kind of nesting, you know, hibernating in your bed, in your house, and really not even wanting to go out, and also wanting the familiarity of like the people you already know, family, you know. It's kind of back to basics and the comfort of that, of traditions, of conservative, familiar family energies. And it's very home based. And it's very much about retreating into your shell. And what you are thinking about is comfort. Okay, what nourishes you, and it's back to basics. It's just, you know, going slow, choosing comfort and nourishing yourself, right? And thinking about your loved ones and keeping it very simple in that way. That's where Mars is now at, and so that's where you ought to be at. You know, this is not a time for a lot of action, and you may strongly feel that as an empath, as a sensitive. And so Mars being in Crab, we all are very sensitive from now on. And mind you, Mars is in its retrograde for only a month now. It started December 6th of 2024. January 6th, 2025 is only 1 month. So we still have 2 months of Mars retrograde to go. So we're just at the first third of it, you know. We're not even at the half point. So there's quite some Mars retrograde to go. And that's coincidentally the last months of the year, kind of, you know, last months of the astrological year. So it's about retreating, because I think in a way that's how I feel that your battery needs to charge up. You need to revitalize yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and I think the Mars is helping us with that, so that the heavy changes of 25 of you know, springtime, where, you know, the wheel is turning again, we need to be ready, we need to be charged, we need to be aware of what we want, and which route we're gonna take, right? Are we gonna take the soft comfort and like divinely guided, trusted, surrendering path, or are we gonna be in control and like force, and you know, so that's what you kind of need to contemplate. And maybe, you know, if the springtime with Neptune and Saturn going at 0 degrees Aries is going to be a whole new chapter in our life's story, in our soul's journey, then, you know, maybe also a lot is ending now, right? A lot is, because it's also very much tied to the month where the North Node moves into Pisces, right? That Mars is moving into retrograde in Crab. So we're very sensitive. It's very much about now letting go of grief, of sadness, and some dark emotions that can rise, and really moving through those emotions. You know, the water signs, and in particularly Crab, but also Scorpio, of course, and definitely also Pisces, is about the subconscious. So it's about what's underneath, the unseen, that is driving us, that is making our decisions, and is kind of controlling us in a way. So it's very much about stepping into the unseen emotionally as well, going through the dark night of the soul, going through, you know, huge emotional healing that needs to take place. And a huge part of that is just emotional responsibility, emotional maturity that Saturn, who's still, of course, now in Pisces, is going to help us with. So, you know, it's going through a lot of emotions, and that ending tale brings sadness, and you may also feel alone a little bit with Mars and Crab. You know, like you have nowhere to find the comfort, like you don't have the right family or something. So these are also emotions you're working through, because Mars Crab is working through our childhood wounds, okay? It's the fourth house, governed by the fourth house in the chart, which is private, which is dark, the darkest house in the zodiac. So, you know, retreat, do what you feel, because that's the correct thing. Really trust your gut feelings, trust your feelings, trust your intuition, okay? And it's totally okay. You're totally on time, on point to retreat, to take it slow, and yeah, just look back at your life and what you did and what you accomplished, and be very happy with yourself in that sense, and very grateful for what you had and have. Be with the familiar and really love it and cherish the familiar, because maybe from springtime on, that familiar won't be there anymore. Not in that way, because a new chapter is starting, right? But before that, we also have another retrograde that's really going to impact us, and that is the Venus retrograde. It's going to start March 2nd, and it's going to end April 13th, and it's going to start at Aries, 10 degrees of Aries, and it's going to move back to 24 degrees of Pisces. This is quite an important timing of Venus going retrograde, because in March we have eclipses. So this year, 2025, we have 2 eclipse seasons. Eclipses come in pairs, you know, a new moon and a full moon, which is called a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse. And so we're going to have 2 eclipses in March, which is the first season, and then the second eclipse season is going to be September. So March and September, you know, line your calendar, that's going to be the eclipses. We're going to have a total eclipse, lunar eclipse, March 14th at 24 degrees of Virgo. We're also going to have a solar eclipse March 29th at 8 or 9 degrees of Aries, okay? So write that down if you're interested in eclipses, because these are usually a huge change of everything. And it's going to impact us collectively. But if you have anything around 24 degrees of Virgo or 9 degrees of Aries, it's going to impact you personally. We also have in September, like I said, 2 more eclipses. September 7th, we're going to have another total eclipse, lunar eclipse, 15 degrees of Pisces. And we're going to have September 21st, a partial solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo. So March and September are eclipse seasons, and it happens that Venus retrograde is occurring during the eclipse season in March, okay? And so when Mars goes retrograde like we have now, it's not a time for action. The libido is low, the drive is low. It's not a time to start new ventures. And when Venus goes retrograde, now Venus governs beauty, it governs your self-esteem, what you deem worthy and valuable, so that's yourself, but also perhaps possessions you deem valuable, and also because of that value and worth, it's about finances, economy, so your possessions, your wealth, your finances, and beauty and style and all of that is Venus ruled. And of course, how can we forget love and relationships, okay? So Venus going retrograde in March, and you know, half of April as well, so it's like approximately 6 weeks. That is not a time for huge changes on the physical, so beauty changes. Don't go for major haircuts. You will not be happy with them when Venus is retrograde. Don't go for plastic surgery because the outcome might not be the way you want it. As Venus rules finances, you shouldn't do huge financial investments or like definitely not risky investments or things that are very expensive. You should be really careful with. Just be a little bit more conservative with your finances. So again, the dates are March 2nd until April 13th. Generally in classic astrology, this is also not a time to get married, because it rules love and relationships. So it's a time of reflecting of, yeah, your relationships, your financial situation, maybe your looks as well, but it's not the time to take the action necessarily. So that's another little bit of a moment where we're slowed down with the Venusian topics, okay? So it seems that, you know, the changes will really happen more around when Saturn moves into Aries, or more around May, the end of May, where we will really feel the huge potential of the springtime of real 2025 and the massive astrological changes, okay? So, of course, we also have Mercury Retrogrades. I'll give you a few dates. It's March 15th until April 7th. Then we have the second Mercury Retrograde, July 18th until August 11th. And we have November 9th until November 29th. That's the last Mercury Retrograde. You know, with Mercury Retrogrades, you know, the information is off, the details are off. It's not the greatest time for agreements or contracts or even mobility, so, you know, delays and all of that, and just where electronics are not working at its best, where our communication is not at its best. So that's the time with Mercury retrograde, right? So I think I've covered the changes. Yeah, so, you know, a lot is occurring at 0 degrees of Aries, a lot is occurring at 0 degrees of Gemini. Of course, we have Pluto at 0 degrees, 1, 2, 3 degrees approximately maybe this year as well. And we also have 0 degrees of the Crab, with Jupiter hanging out there. And of course, you know, Pisces energy because of the North Node. Yeah, it's a huge changing year. And I wonder if you've heard all of this, what do you think that 2025 is going to bring us? Please write down in the comments and we can look back at them, you know, occasionally to see what has occurred. I highly recommend that you write these dates down in your phone or your calendar, wherever, and really track these dates, because massive changes are underway during these times. Well, as you can tell, everything is happening at the first half of 2025. And then the second half, we only have eclipses in September, and of course we have some other details maybe, but the huge impact is happening at the beginning of 2025. And you know, by the summer we will have undergone so many changes, and things might go really rapid. It's a high pace energy, fast, and huge, because outer planets are generational planets, because, you know, they govern a lot of time, but also you know, consciousness, awareness. And never before in the history, because the outer planets have been discovered very late on. 1700s approximately is Uranus, around the time of electricity and kind of, you know, maybe the start of industrial revolution a little bit. And Neptune is 1800s-ish, in the midst. That's when we had photography, so the media started to come up, and you know, movies and all that. And so, you know, you have that whole deception kind of, what is real, what is not, what's a movie, what is not. Mid 1940s, we have the discovery of Pluto, which is around the time of the atomic bomb, which is full destruction, very powerful, nuclear, you know, so we go into the microscopical reality, the minuscule, and so it's very much also about the DNA and all of that. Never before, because these outer planets have been discovered quite recently, never before have we had these big kind of changes in such a short amount of time since they were discovered. Definitely not. So, and the thing about the outer planets being discovered is that now these topics that they represent are coming into our awareness, are coming into our consciousness. So we're working with them. It's becoming more clear. We have to face these topics that these outer planets represent. And, you know, they are pretty intense. Pluto is the most intense, but, you know, Neptune is quite intense as well. And Uranus is very shocking and surprising and very innovative. So now we are so aware of what these planets represent, what these energies are doing with us. And so never have we had this kind of energetic changes. And so it's a huge ascension moment. This is where, you know, apparently a lot of ancient astrologers have deemed to be the golden age, because it's related to being in the Aquarius age. It is predicted, assumed that around 2100 ish we are moving into the Aquarius age. Some people, like myself, think that we're right in it. We're right in that tumultuous change of the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. And these signs, it's a very detailed story, but they change every 2,165 years approximately, and has to do with the precession of the equinoxes, and so the orbit of Earth. And it's about what we see on the horizon when we embark on the spring equinox. So for 2,165 years, it was the Pisces constellation, and soon, or now, it should be the Aquarius constellation. And like I said, ancient astrologers have always themed it to be the golden age for humanity, and you know, stepping into compassion, awareness, high innovational years of everything being good. So I hope that's a promise that we can live up to, and that's actually the reality, and not all the other scariness of technology and, you know, AI taking over, and all these scary narratives that is being presented to us. But actually, this is a time of true hope. This is a time of greatness. This is a time of huge quantum leaps and massive understanding that we have maybe never ever reached in humanity's history, or at least something that happened like 13,000 years ago or 26,000 years ago, according to the precession of the equinox. So it's a massive time. It's a time, if you believe in that, where the ascended souls have incarnated for. This is why we feel that this is such a tough and difficult time, because actually we're moving into tremendous opportunity and like massive lightness of love, hopefully, of connection, of true innovation, not just technological, but also emotional and energetical. And so I feel that this is going to unlock a lot of DNA codes, like I always speak of, in particularly in the Pluto Aquarius video that I made, which I can link below, because that's very huge. We're working with this year as well. Yeah, we're tapping into gifts from the soul, from our DNA, that has been hidden from us for a long time. That's how I feel it to be. I feel that quantum leaps are here, and I feel that the astrology of 2025 is a signature that proves that this is the case. Like I said, the sextiles, the trines, the huge changes, the massive Neptune and Saturn into 0 degrees of Aries. It's huge. It's for the history books, like I said. It's pivotal. And the thing you need to do is have a very pure heart and move from that purity, move from the compassion. Know that you make ethically correct choices, because the implications will be quick, fast, and detrimental if you're not on that path. So the thing is, I don't have to convince you. I think the time will go so fast that you will see it yourself. So I hope 2025 is a good year for all of us. It sure is a massive year. So thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment, because that is how you support me, and that is how I can make more of these videos. So thank you for watching, and have a good 2025. I hope I've given you some insights that you can really ponder and work with, and you know, choose higher, choose soulfully, choose higher expressions, higher consciousness, and you'll be on the right path. All right, I love you. Thank you for watching. Bye. Have a good year.